I actually don't even know what episode this is. Hold on. I have to look. I think it's Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jorvik and this is episode 9 of Fandom Friendly, my bi-weekly, talk show talking about all things, mostly that I like, but all things fandoms. We have a lot to talk about this episode. A couple things, there was a couple trailers that came out, we'll talk about them, but obviously the biggest news comes from Marvel and a little bit of DC as well, but mostly Marvel. If you've been living under a rock, there was a live stream that Marvel did last week at the time of recording this. That was the announcement of the Doomsday cast. I do know that that's not the full cast. That's only like about half of the cast. Obviously, when they get further into production, I think they will announce more cast members, because there were a lot of names that people were surprised were not included in that list. But we will talk about that a little bit later. We also got an announcement for the new Spider-Man movie. I was going to record this yesterday, and then I saw that Sony released the title for the new Spider-Man movie, the Tom Holland-led Spider-Man movie, as well as some more information on Beyond the Spider-Verse. So, again, we will be talking about that. As always, if you like this type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Us nerds are going to be eating good this year between Superman, Fantastic Four, all the new Star Wars stuff, and just going into the next year of, Doomsday, learning more about Secret Wars, etc. I'm really excited for this year. But let's go ahead and jump into our first topic of the day, and that is trailers. I think two of the biggest trailers, we did get a new trailer for Andor. This time it features more Ben Mendelsohn's character from Rogue One, just to kind of help close the bridge of that gap. But other than that, it still looks great. It's going to premiere right after Daredevil when that show ends. And by the way, Daredevil, 6 episodes in so far at the time of recording this. New episode tonight. So really excited for that. The show has been pretty good so far. You can definitely tell it's made by TV people. Something that Marvel shows have sort of been lacking, and I think I've discussed that in a previous episode. I think I talked about it actually in my Alkalite episode, months ago, about how there's a difference between movie people making serialized content and then TV people making serialized content. And you can definitely tell the difference if you know what to look for. Yeah, so we had that, but I think the biggest trailer, it seems like Disney cannot catch a break, and I specifically mean like just main Disney, because, I said this in my Mufasa trailer video, I said this in my Snow White reaction trailer video. I don't like these live action movies that they keep making. Obviously, the most recent one to come out was Snow White, and did not do so well. But we all knew that. We all knew, and it wasn't because of Rachel Ziegler. It wasn't because of the CGI dwarfs. It wasn't because of Gal Gadot's terrible acting for some reason. I think it's just because people don't like these movies. And it's not a woke thing. I just want to be perfectly clear. That's a very small minority of people who think everything is woke now because there's a woman or someone's skin color who is slightly darker than white. Again, those people, stupid, uneducated. So, I'm going to leave it at that. However, we did get a trailer. This has been a couple weeks, so I feel like the discourse has kind of died down a little bit, but I want to talk about it. And that is Lilo and Stitch. Now, look, I'm actually a big fan of the later half of the Renaissance era of Disney movies. I know a lot of millennials, talk about the Renaissance Disney films as like the gold standard, which I think most of those movies aren't actually that good. I think it's, they're good, but they're not like the gold standard. You know what I mean? I personally like Emperor's New Groove. I love Lilo and Stitch. I love Atlantis. Like those more experimental kind of one-off movies. Well, Lilo and Stitch is not a one-off thing. It got like 3 movies and a TV series, and I guess so did Emperor's New Groove. That also got like 3 movies and a TV series. But no justice for Treasure Planet nor Atlantis. I really like that era of Disney, and I think it's just because that was the era where like I wasn't alive when The Lion King came out, so it's like I grew up on those movies specifically. So Lilo and Stitch is a big part of my personality, I guess. I actually quote that movie a lot, and I didn't even realize it until recently, where I was with some friends, and I always do like the okay, but I do it like not in Stitch's voice, but he says that a lot in those movies, and it's just like I always seem to reference it, especially Emperor's New Groove. Like I reference that movie all the time. I always go, bring it on, like just stuff like that. So the live action trailer for Stitch came out, and look, on the surface, I think it looks good, but the big issue that people seem to have is that Jumba and Pleakley aren't Jumba and Pleakley, and I think I know why. It's just because CG costs money, and to have entire characters that are CG throughout the entire film is costly. I mean, they probably put a lot of that budget into Stitch, because obviously Stitch is a CGI character. But it's not even that. It's like we get a quick glimpse of Jumba and Pleakley through a portal, and which is technology that's never been in the Lilo and Stitch franchise, at least as from what I can remember. I would really like to know what the context of that scene. But anyways, but the biggest thing is that they have a disguise thing, which is like a hologram type of thing that disguises them to make them look like humans. And I think this is where people are like, come on, Disney, what are we doing? You had a knock out of the park here with live action Lilo and Stitch, and you're not even going to attempt. Again, it's a small thing, but it's also a big thing, because Pleakley is a drag character, and like I think that's what, even growing up, you understood, like children understood like what drag is. And I know why Disney didn't do it. We all know why. It's because Disney doesn't have the balls to promote drag, especially in today's fascist regime, specifically in America. It's a very hot button issue that's actually not an issue at all. I'm going to get a little bit political here, so please bear with me. Drag queens aren't the problem. Okay, actually, it's Christian nationalists, senators, Republican people specifically, who are the ones that are hurting children, and that is statistically viable. You can literally look anywhere and see that. So the fact that Disney didn't double down, they were like, nah, we're just going to make it holographic technology. We're not even going to acknowledge that Pleakley is a drag gay icon. First of all, it's just sad. I mean, like, I would love to see an alien in drag. I'm sorry, sue me, hang me up, execute me, burn me at the stake. I don't care. Remember, this is a safe place for all of my LGBTQ plus people. As a member of the LGBTQ plus community myself, yes, I am bisexual. I've mentioned it before. It's something that we do need more representation of. I don't know. Again, this was just a really quick glimpse in the trailer, and it sparked the controversy, but maybe it'll change. Maybe there's other instances in the film that they could try on, like a wig and all that kind of stuff like that. It's just a big non-issue, but it is an issue. You know what I mean? Anyways, enough talking about that. Let's get into some DC news. So James Gunn came out a couple weeks ago saying that they have had test screenings for Superman, and that a lot of those test screenings have come back positive, which we all know. James Gunn is a brilliant writer and a brilliant director, regardless of what you believe. As a filmmaker myself, he is a good filmmaker. We just know each other. So Superman getting positive reviews. I mean, I knew it was gonna be like that. I think the biggest thing that I saw was that it's not a comedy, like kind of like Suicide Squad was, but obviously it has comedic elements in it, which is every movie. In game technically was not a comedy, but has some pretty good funny moments in it. Again, that movie comes out July 11th, my birthday. I'm really excited for it. I definitely will be go seeing it day one. Big movies like that, I like to go like, nowadays you can go see a movie at like 12 p.m. Thursday, before it comes out. So I like to go to those showings because it's one, middle of the day. Two, no kids, so I'm gonna have actually enjoy my theater experience. And three, a lot of people work and I don't, so take that what you will. Moving on to Sony Spider-Man news. We did get a new title for Spider-Man. It's called Brand New Day, which I'm going to be honest, I don't know what that means. That's not true. I know what it means. It's supposed to represent like a brand new era for Spider-Man, right? Just how like Spider-Man Homecoming was kind of like a double entendre of it being like, oh, it's like the homecoming dance or the time of year where homecoming's happening, but also it's a homecoming in the sense of now Spidey is in the MCU type of thing. We also got a release date of July 31st, 2026, which, yes, is after Doomsday premieres. There were rumors over the last, I guess, really 6 months. I think really since they shifted towards Doom, that the Spider-Man film will take place in Battleworld, and that it would take, but like I hate that. Like it also doesn't have to. I really don't think that it needs to be in Battleworld. I think it can still be in New York, and it could still take place, before the events of Doomsday. We know that that is the case. Look at Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second one. That came out post Infinity War, but technically took place a few weeks before Infinity War. So you don't have to look at it chronologically to be like, oh, this happens during the events of Doomsday. And it could very well take place during the events of Doomsday. I don't know. I just feel like we needed just a good Spider-Man film where he's in New York. He meets new characters. He tries to go to college, and he's just a guy. He's just a silly guy. That we don't need to have another multiversal story with Spider-Man. We just got that with No Way Home. I don't know, but that we still don't really know a lot about that film besides like rumors and alleged leaks. I don't really like to talk about leaks like that because a lot of them are they're really hit or miss, which is why I haven't in the past couple episodes I haven't brought up the alleged Doomsday concept art that was leaked like a month ago or whenever that was. I mean, the Russo brothers did come out and said that that's not concept art for Doomsday, or like it's not like active concept art for Doomsday, so technically we can share it around and talk about it, but I'm still not going to do that. But that's the main reason why I didn't bring it up, because it's really not worth talking about, because it just looks like an artist looked at the Secret Wars like comic and then just kind of drew out scenes from that comic, but with MCU characters. That's all it really was. I think just as like a proof of concept type of thing, but it's whatever. But yeah, so a brand new day. I mean, I don't know. Again, we don't know much about it. We don't know exactly what the story is going to be. We don't know who is in it besides Tom Holland. And I'm going to be honest, I really hope they don't do the black suit. And like, you're probably like, oh, but it's literally been 20 years since we've seen a live action black suit. But I just still feel like it's too early his career. Does that make sense? I feel like the black suit, like, okay, so like to me, if we were doing a brand new trilogy, right, I would forget Michelle, that version of MJ. Forget Ned. Actually, I mean, I would bring them back, but like right now, forget about them. I would introduce Gwen Stacy. I've always liked Gwen Stacy more than Mary Jane anyway. And yes, we've already got Gwen Stacy twice in live action, but I feel like Marvel or Sony with the help of, Marvel Studios will actually do her justice. That's not true. I really did like Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, but that's a different conversation. I would also finally introduce, I would probably introduce Harry. Maybe like just him like meeting Harry. We did kind of see that sort of meeting in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, the animated show, with Norman Osborn. But it's interesting because we do know that Oscorp does not exist in the MCU. Because of the line from Norman Osborn in No Way Home. He said Oscorp doesn't exist. So either there is Osborns out there, and maybe they could be like, hey, this is a new company that we're starting. Maybe, and they could do the thing where, Osborn worked for Stark Industries. And of course, that's going to piss a lot of people off because they don't like how Spider-Man's tied to Iron Man. But in the context of the MCU, it obviously makes sense. Tony Stark was such a pivotal character throughout, the timeline of the MCU. It absolutely makes sense that a lot of these villains are connected to Stark Industries, or at least, adjacent. Actually, I think it would be even cooler if he was maybe a former employee of Hammer. Is it Hammer Industries or Hammer Tech, whatever? Justin Hammer. Just kind of be like, they're always villains here. But yeah, so anyways, maybe introduce Black Cat. I know there was talks of Sydney Sweeney being Black Cat, and let's be honest, we all know why people want her cast as Black Cat. Come on, guys, grow up. I don't even think she would do it. I honestly, because I feel like her experience with Marvel, specifically Sony, was tainted with Madam Web. So I don't think she would come back to do another Spider-Man thing, even if it's a different character and actually under the Marvel Studios banner. I don't know. I just feel like she wouldn't. But yeah, but it also gives an opportunity to bring back Charlie Cox's Daredevil or reintroduce, actually what would be cool is maybe have hints back at Daredevil. Obviously Kingpin is mayor currently. So we have, but we don't know how that ends, with season 1. We know that they're filming season 2 of Daredevil, so we don't know how Kingpin's arc is going to finish out, if he's going to continue to be mayor. But it would also be a great opportunity to introduce, Kamala to Spider-Man. It would be interesting to introduce Power Man, Iron Fist, Heroes for Hire, bring Mike Coulter. And look, I like Finn Jones. I thought he was fine as Iron Fist. It's just that the writing of that show, I don't blame actors all the time. I've mentioned this before. A lot of it is up to directing. It's up to the writing, and some cases it's also up to the actors. But I don't think it's his fault that character was bad. But I would still like to see them back. I mean, we do know there are other heroes running around. I mean, I would like to see Spider-Man interact with more street-level heroes. That's what I want. But yeah, so again, back to my original point, I don't want it to be that he's swinging around in New York, that a version of New York that is in Battle World. I think that's dumb. I think that would be a huge missed opportunity to just have a normal Spider-Man movie. Now, at the end of that movie, you could tease Secret Wars with maybe at the end of his movie, some multiverse stuff is going down and New York gets sucked into Battle World or whatever, the Void, whatever it's going to end up being. Now that would I would be okay with, because that would lead into Secret Wars, which would come out, the next year. I don't know, but let me know what you think of these new Spider-Man title, and what are your theories for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Moving on to other Spider-Man news, we have a new release date for Beyond the Spider-Verse. I did talk about this last episode or the episode before, that it was delayed to 2027, which is when this is supposed to come out. I think it was April 2027 is when that film's supposed to come out. With their announcement, they also released some concept art, or looks like some stills from the film, and as always looks really, really good. I've said this before, but Sony Animation is technically a different division than like Sony Pictures. So it's not directly the same people working on those films, which is why these animated films are just a higher form of quality and storytelling because they actually have good people on them. So, new concept art, new release date. No word on if Shamik Moore is still going to be voicing Miles with that whole thing. I did talk about that when we talked about the news. There was some drama between him and Haley Steinfeld, the voice artist for Gwen. So I don't know. I don't really like to dive into a lot of just drama like that, unless it's, pretty like severe. But I'm just not that kind of person. So don't have all the answers. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's pretty much all I really want to talk about this episode. Before we get into our final topic, there was some other news though that I do want to mention because I think it is important. That we all know that Warner Bros. Discovery has not been doing well the last few years, especially since they've merged with Discovery, and David Zaslav has taken over. We know that he has like a fetish for pumping money into all of these projects and then having them fully edited and fully screened and tested and just be like, no, we're not going to release it. Obviously, the two big ones of that was Batgirl, which I still, with after this news, I hope has a chance to be seen because I would really like to see that movie regardless if it's good or bad. There was another Looney Tunes film that was like, it was a Wile E. Coyote film. It was like a mix of live action and a mix of, obviously animation because it's, Wile E. Coyote. I believe it had Will Forte in it. But that was made a couple years ago. That was screened and it was received very positively in that it was a step in the right direction with bringing Looney Tunes back to like the forefront of, entertainment because like I actually really like Looney Tunes. I grew up watching the old cartoons and then like obviously like through the thousands and 2010s there was other Looney Tunes cartoons, and I really liked the last cartoon that was more of like a sitcom, with Daffy and like and Bugs and all that. Like I thought that show was pretty funny. It went on for a couple seasons, but but there really hasn't been like Looney Tunes. It's just one of those staple things. Just like Mickey Mouse. Like there's tons of Mickey Mouse cartoons and all that kind of stuff like that. But then again, there isn't really a Mickey Mouse movie either, so I guess, whatever. So yeah, so it was also announced this week that they sold the worldwide distribution rights for Wile E. Coyote versus Acme, whatever that whatever it was called. I don't remember what it was called exactly, but that movie to Catch Up Entertainment or something like that. But they are going to distribute it in theaters, and eventually after 14 days it'll be on streaming. So whatever. But that movie is going to be released and shown. So that's kind of huge. I want to say the price tag was like $50 million, which that's an insane amount of money. I don't know what the budget of that film was. I imagine it was probably close to that. If, if they were okay with letting it go for $50 million, they got their money back. This just sets a weird precedent when it comes to the future of entertainment. And I think I might do a separate video talking about this because it is like, to most people, it is like boring. They're like, oh, it's the politics of filmmaking. Who cares? Just let me see Hulk punch something, But it is important, like the politics of filmmaking and like, especially like how distribution rights work and, buying and selling IP, like that stuff is interesting. I've talked about it before with the Sony stuff. I believe Sony needs to have their rights taken away for Spider-Man. But again, different conversation for a different day, might be for that video. It's just the bureaucracy of it is fascinating to me specifically, and to a lot of my friends who are in the industry, whether they are acting or more of crew people. It is an interesting kind of world, I guess, because if you think about it, a lot of that bureaucracy over the last 30 years, we wouldn't even have the MCU today if it wasn't for a lot of that stuff. So it is, fascinating. Anyways, like I mentioned, I hope that this gives the chance for other movies that Warner Bros. Has put up on the docket or put up on a shelf in a vault somewhere to never see the light of day. I hope that these people be like, oh, you know what? Maybe we can make money off of this. Let's just sell it to another production company or studio and they can release it, whatever. And we can make some of our money back. I mean, I hope those talks are in place because, again, I would really like to see Batgirl. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the biggest news of the last 2 weeks, and that is the hilarious stream that Marvel did on YouTube. And I only saw it on YouTube. I don't know if they streamed it anywhere else, but it was like a 5.5 hour stream, and I started watching. I got the notification. I was like, oh, Marvel's going live. They don't usually go live unless it's something like really important. So let me, hop on and check it out. And it's really funny because I was watching the 2 Daredevil episodes that came out last week. I was in the middle of that when I got the notification. I'm like, oh, bet. And so I watched it and I just saw the first chair and it was Chris Hemsworth. And I was like, that's weird. And at first my brain was like, oh, are they announcing like a new Thor movie? Like, and I was reading the comments and I think a lot of people came up to that assumption. And then I was like, well, it's just a stream of like, there's nothing happening. It's just a Chris Hemsworth like actor chair. And then it was like I think someone clocked it out because I didn't really keep up with it, but it was like 10 to 12 minutes a new chair would appear, right? It was just a dolly shot. And the next one was Vanessa Kirby, who is obviously the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm. So then everyone was like, oh, this must be the cast for Doomsday. And obviously it is. So I didn't sit through, I sat through like the first 3 names. I think the next name was Anthony Mackie, Captain America. And then I think after that, I just kind of checked on it, like maybe like every once in a while. I'll go back like every 40 minutes. I'll look at it. I'm like, oh, they did like 4 new names, and I'll like go and see what the names are. And yeah, there were definitely some surprising names on there. Most of the names kind of expected. A lot of them MCU characters. But obviously the biggest names to me personally were all the X-Men characters. So Patrick Stewart, who did show up in Multiverse of Madness, so that's not like a crazy thought. But we did get Ian McKellen back as Magneto, which is crazy because they're both like in their 90s, I'm pretty sure, it's insane that he's even doing this. This will probably be the last time both of them play these characters, like, let's be honest. And then super surprising, Alan Cummings as Nightcrawler, which I was thoroughly shocked by because Nightcrawler, that version of Nightcrawler only was in 1 movie. Which was X2. Like, there are reasons why he didn't show up in like X3 or Days of Future Past, with the other legacy characters, and it's because of Bryan Singer allegations towards him and like all that kind of stuff like that. I'm not too well versed on that. I mentioned I'm not a big drama person, but I know it was not a fun set to be on, so that's why he didn't return. So him actually coming back is huge. But obviously Bryan Singer's not involved, so I kind of get it. And then of course James Marsden, my boy, reprising his role as Cyclops again. Also last seen in Days of Future Past. In the new timeline, Cyclops is alive, so that's pretty cool. We also got Kelsey Grammer as Beast. He was in the Marvels, so and that was a more like CGI, comic accurate, cartoon accurate version of him instead of the practical makeup that he wore in X-Men 3 and Days of Future Past. Of course, we got Rebecca Romijn as Mystique, the original Mystique, not Jennifer Lawrence, obviously. The last time we saw her as Mystique was actually in First Class. The scene where the meme where Michael Fassbender Magneto was like, I want to see the real you. And then you see Mystique change through all these people, and there's like an older version of her. That's Rebecca Romijn. She reprised her role for a quick cameo as Mystique in that movie. So that's technically the last time we saw her. Of course, there was no Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. There was no Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. There was also no Famke Janssen as Jean Grey, the original Jean Grey. And then, of course, we got Pedro Pascal, and then eventually it ended with Robert Downey Jr., who's going to be playing Doom. So some big names. Those are the only ones that I really like wanted to talk about, because a lot of people, my big question is, how do they fit into this story? Because as a comic reader, This gives me the impression that we're doing a sort of Avengers versus X-Men, and I'm not the only one to say that. There's other people out there who think that that's what this is going to be. Because we got what's okay. So let's run through what we know of the multiverse. Besides, like, all of, like, the side stuff, like the big main ones, we have the main 616, which is their main MCU timeline. We have 10005, which is now the X-Men universe. So that does include all of the X-Men films, including the kind of the prequel films and the Deadpool films. And that was established in Deadpool and Wolverine as 10005. We also have 838, which is in Multiverse of Madness, that other kind of more realized Marvel universe with the Fantastic Four, with the Inhumans, with, the X-Men and, like, the Avengers and all that kind of stuff. And then we have whatever universe the Fantastic Four is from, because obviously it's not 838 because, Pedro Pascal is Reed Richards and not John Krasinski. And that's pretty much it. Those are like the four main universes we have. I mean, obviously we have Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man universe. We have Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universe. We do have, if they wanted to, the Blade universe, the Daredevil Elektra universe. There is the Ghost Rider universe. I mean, like, will they bring those in? Probably not. I mean, we kind of closed out the Blade and Elektra Daredevil universe because those characters showed up in Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's presumed that their universe has died and is gone. I mean, I don't know. I just want to know, one, what is Doom's plan? Because if he's from the universe, if he's from the same universe as the new Fantastic Four universe that we're going to be seeing in July, because obviously there's rumors that universe ends, and that's what kind of starts setting up, the next few movies. And how Doom is going to, like, basically, like, destroy, do the Secret Wars thing where he destroys stuff, it destroys universes, and creates battle worlds. So how does the X-Men fit into this? Because either they are going to destroy that universe, or in the 616 universe, and, like, that's what's going to collide into the void / battle world, because everyone just assumes that the void is where Secret Wars is going to take place because it's already established. It just makes sense. It's easier for general audiences to be like, oh, they're in the void. That's the place from Loki and Deadpool and Wolverine. Got it. Instead of establishing an entirely new realm called Battleworld. I guess we really won't find out until, obviously, the movie comes out, but really until Fantastic Four comes out. You know what I mean? Because I also want to point out that some of the big names that were left off this list was obviously Tom Holland as Spider-Man, but we now know his movie was announced, and they probably did that because people were complaining. They're like, why isn't he in the Doomsday cast? He'll probably be in it. Like, I think Spider-Man will be in it. Just a very small role. I don't think it's going to be as big as he was in Infinity War. You know what I mean? Obviously, Chris Evans, Haley Atwell, they were also talked about to reprising some of their roles. Well, Chris Evans playing a different character. I'm assuming he's going to be a variant of Captain America, because I don't think he would come back as Johnny Storm, because that version of that character died in Deadpool and Wolverine. Also, Tatiana Maslany, My Girl, She-Hulk, wasn't on that list. And obviously her cousin Mark Ruffalo, Hulk, wasn't on that list. Brie Larson, Captain Marvel, wasn't on that list. Neither was Photon. Neither was Iman Vellani. Miss Marvel wasn't on that list. Charlie Cox wasn't on that list. I mean, there are a lot of heroes being left out of this. And I think it's because they did mention that there would be more names. I mentioned earlier that this is not the full cast. I do think that as the year goes on, as production continues to go on for, like, the next spring and probably through summer as well, because they're probably going to be shooting Secret Wars back to back with Doomsday, that more characters will obviously be announced. And so I'm not too worried about it, but I just do find it very interesting, like, why release these names first? You know what I mean? Because, like, we didn't even see Letitia Wright was on that, so she's the Black Panther. We had oh my gosh, I'm blanking on his name, but the guy that plays Namor, Namor coming back in this cast, which is interesting. And I think they're setting up Illuminati because the Illuminati. I mentioned this I don't think I mentioned it in my Captain America Brave New World video because I don't think we knew when I made that video. We knew at the time. But there was supposed to be an Illuminati scene in that movie, who those people would be, and I think that if this film opens up with an actual major incursion like it does in the comics, the Illuminati, I think, which is the perfect kind of team to introduce first, with Captain America, with Doctor Strange. Well, oh yeah, Benjamin Cumberbatch wasn't on that list either. Neither was Charlize Theron as Clea. If she'll even come back, which I'm assuming she will, because, she mentioned incursions. I think she probably knows a lot more about them than any of our characters do. So I don't know. I'm just really curious. I know this movie has to be long. It has to be 3 hours long. There's no way you could tell the story. And yeah, it's technically two movies, Doomsday and Secret Wars, just like Infinity War and Endgame. They're technically two-parters, but there's no way you could do all this in a 2.5 hour movie. It has to be at least 3 hours, which I'm perfectly okay with. I love long movies as long as entertaining, but yeah, it also would have to be kind of like Infinity War, where it just starts off with action, and you have to move through all these characters. You have to move through the storyline, and Thanos getting the Infinity Stones and stuff like that. They have to do it for this film. And I don't know, I mean, with 50 characters that are going to be in this, and then probably even more in Secret Wars, when we'll probably get Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back. We would probably get Wesley Snipes' Blade back. We will probably get Elektra back. Channing Tatum was on this list, so I think that's interesting too. Channing Tatum as Gambit was on this list that was announced, which I think is insane, because he's not technically part of the X-Men universe, unless I mean, there was the released unused end credit scene of him being saved by someone with a Doctor Strange portal, a Mystic portal. Could be Doctor Strange. Maybe Doctor Strange can be hey, maybe that scene takes place during the events of Doomsday, and he's brought in. You know what I mean? Because it's the void is out of time and space. So that could easily explain that. I don't know. I am excited. I am excited for this. I know a lot of people just don't think Marvel's been hitting lately, which I wholeheartedly disagree with. There is a lot of good that has come out of Phase 4 and Phase 5. Obviously, just people. I mean, Secret Invasion is the outlier. I don't understand why. I think I've talked about this before. I think Secret Invasion should have been a phase, for real. Because, Secret Invasion is such a big thing that you can't tell it in a 6-hour series. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I mean, there's not really much to talk about more other than, what this could mean with all of these names and what other names are missing and, who can be involved. Because we still don't have, Kate Bishop. There's no Wong. There was no, I don't remember what her name is. Xochitl Gomez, who's America Chavez, who her whole character, she can traverse the multiverse. She's not on this list. Neither is Evangeline Lilly, the Wasp. She's not on this list. Neither is Cassie, their daughter. There's a lot of characters who you would think would be on this list that's not. But again, I'm not too worried about it. I know more casting announcements will come out as production goes on. That's pretty normal. So don't fret if your favorite character is not on the Doomsday cast list. They're not going to make this movie with just 25 people. Let's be real. I think what makes this different than Infinity War and Endgame, not that it's just obviously a different story, but with Infinity War, they had to be very strategic about which characters they used, and they did the thing where they split them up. So you had the Guardians. Oh yeah, also no Guardians mentioned on this list. Also, but you just have to remember that the bureaucracy of making these films, like actor schedules are the thing, so I think that a lot of the stuff again will be revealed as we go on. But yeah, no, that's pretty much it, I think, for this episode. Like I mentioned, not a lot to talk about, until more information comes out. I do trust Kevin Feige. I trust the Russo brothers. I trust, the actors involved, because they've already proven their worth in terms of like acting for these characters. Still on the fence about RDJ as Doom, but again, yeah, I'm not going to pass judgment until I actually see the film, or at least a trailer, just to kind of see how he's going to portray Doom. I think next week I'll finally do my ranking of Phase 4 video. If you haven't seen it, I have done Phase 1, 2, and 3. They're separate videos. They're on the channel. You can go check them out. But I think it's time I do Phase 4, and then obviously when Thunderbolts comes out, it's the end of Phase 5. So I'll be doing Phase 5 ranking video. But anyways, guys, let me know what you thought of all of the news we talked about today. Are you excited for Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars? Are you excited for Superman? Are you excited for Spider-Man Brand New Day? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, my name is Jorvik, and I'll see you in the next one.